Let's try that again. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the author interview series for Get Published Industry Experts Share Their Secrets. I'm super excited. This book is debuting May 8th, so mark your calendars. Today, I have co-author Ruth Fae. We're going to be digging into her chapter, and if you've ever wondered what exactly an intuitive writing coach, a book coach can do for you in the writing process, you're going to want to stick around because we're going to be digging into that. Thank you so much for being here, Ruth. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Yes, of course. So Ruth is an intuitive writing coach and editor. She's an international best-selling author and a believer in unlimited potential of co-creation. Amazing. Welcome, Ruth.
Thank you.
So your chapter is Overcoming Writer's Blocks and Align with Your Inner Magic, Becoming Confident Published Author. So let's start with sharing anyone who's watching who's curious, what is an intuitive writing coach? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes. So a writing coach, I guess, is like a coach for anything else, whether it's going to the gym or life coach or all of those sorts of things. When I started working as a book coach and helping people to write their chapters or their books, I found that it became a very intuitive process, which is why I put that into the title, because it is actually working, like you said, in that space of co-creation. It's working with someone, there's energy flow that happens. From my side of things, it's kind of getting into the person's head, not in a creepy way, but really trying to engage with their voice and their message and share that with the world. It's not about my words or my voice, it's about the author. So for me, that's where the intuition comes in, because there are those signs and body signals and things like that when I'm working with someone to ask the next question or push a bit deeper or those kind of things. So for me, that's where the intuitive part of it really comes into play.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love it so much, and really embracing this whole person experience in writing, right? Especially when we're writing our own stories, our own experiences. There's so much involved in it, and really staying connected to our own hearts and our own minds, like you mentioned. So powerful. I love it. So I want to start by reading the first paragraph because of your chapter, because it's absolutely beautiful. Stories contain magic. Words weave spells. They make us feel, think, understand, and question. They pass on knowledge, history, and warnings. Through words, we share, connect, celebrate, grieve, and inspire. We pass on traditions, culture, and experience from generation to generation, thus keeping the essence of our experiences alive. From cave paintings to novels, songs to fairy tales, poetry to epic tomes, storytelling is part of human nature. So beautiful. So share a little bit about your own storytelling and writing career so far.
You're reading that and I'm like, who wrote that? It's so funny when someone else writes it.
That's funny. I love it.
I've always been a storyteller from a little kid. You know, when I was 4 years old, I wanted to be an author. It's taken me a long time to get there, but it's amazing to finally be there. Through my working life, I have told stories in like as a journalist and as a copywriter, and have interviewed people and helped them tell their stories, and through creating website copy and blogs. It's all, for me, it's all part of storytelling. And it wasn't until I found this indie publishing space that I realized how many people actually want and need, deep down need, to be heard and to be seen, whether they're using that for business, whether they're using it to heal, whether it's a part of a personal journey. But storytelling, it is everything I said in that introduction. It is, we've done it forever. And it is part of, I feel, part of our responsibility as well, because it does bring that connection and it does help other people. I read this a long time ago, and I can't think exactly how it was written, but it comes from a space of that when people write a story, three people might read that story and they will each take something different from it, but what they take is what they need to hear.
Mm.
And that again brings into the, for me, brings in the intuitive part of it, and that real connection with other people.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah,
And your chapter, it just weaves in that connection piece, the connection to self and the connection to
yeah,
others and the connection to the writing process. And make sure to mark your calendars for May 8th when this book comes out. So you get to read Ruth's full chapter and really dig in because she is an eloquent writer.
thank
And
you.
it's one of those things you want to hold on to every word. I just love the way you write. Um, so in your chapter, you really lay out the ways where you work with your clients, right? You really guide people through the process of like, this is what it could look like to work together. And the first step is to identify and work through any writer's blocks. What does that look like?
When I really started working as a copywriter and got into the depths of writing people's website copy, which is effectively people in business tell their story through their website.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that I realized was everyone would say, I can't write, I don't know how to write, I hate writing, and any other thing that was kind of a variation of that. Um, and part of my role really became not convincing them, working with them, and that's where the co-creation came from, to help them to understand it's not about pen to paper, it's about telling their story.
Mm,
So it doesn't matter if people feel that they can't. That's self-judgment. It may be something that happened when an essay was corrected in high school. It could be
mm,
what their parents told them. It could simply be that they have dyslexia. Like, there's so many different things that can come into this. And they
absolutely.
may not physically be able to sit down and write because it's difficult, but that doesn't mean they can't share their story or tell their story. So a
Mhm.
lot of times when I'm working with people, it's different with every single client that I work with, but it could be a case of writing with them and giving them prompts. It could be a case of recording their story or having them tell to me and I write it down. And I don't see that as ghostwriting because I'm still telling their story in their words. It's just that I'm the conduit, I guess, for
Absolutely.
that information. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's just so important to like touch on this because a lot of people experience or have fear around it. So
I
knowing
do.
yes, right? I think we all do
Yeah.
to some degree. And so knowing that there are tools
Yeah.
and support to help work through that, I think is super empowering. And before I ask the next question, I just want to share Tracy Brown said, I love you, Ruth. You're an incredible editor. Thank you, Tracy, for tuning in and absolutely agree. So, um, so the next thing you kind of talk about is how courageous it is
Mm.
for people to be telling their story and how two kind of common themes can pop up. And one of those is, what if no one reads this? And the other one is, oh my gosh, what if someone reads this? Right? So talk a little bit about that.
So in some ways, this is part of the writing blocks, but it tends to come a little bit further down the writing journey
Yeah.
when they actually realize that this work is going to go out into the world. And as a writer, I think one of the most terrifying things is what if someone reads it? And then also, what if no one reads it? And it's two sides to the same coin in many ways. Um, because you're writing for a reason. Often it's for your own reason, but then if you're putting it out there, it's because you want people to hear your message or your story and feel that connection. So there is this fear of, what if no one reads it?
Mhm.
Um, but they will. The person who is meant to read it will read it. It doesn't matter whether it's a blog or an article or Medium or a book or a chapter in a book. People will find it.
Yeah.
Um,
And I always say the
and
right people will find it.
exactly,
Gonna
yeah,
find the right people will find it um, and be touched by it, and like you mentioned earlier, in the way that they
yeah,
need to be. So I love that.
exactly.
Mhm.
Um, and the fear about what if people read it often comes, particularly when people are writing about past trauma or difficult experiences in their lives, and their transformative journey. Um, there is that fear that, you know, parents, sister, neighbors, people in their immediate community will read it, and then that people outside of that will read and potentially judge them or be angry or have negative responses. And this is something that I have struggled with in my writing career as well. So I totally get it.
Mhm.
Um, so that part for me as coach and editor is helping them share their story in a way that is safe, not only in the container that we work in, but also that they know when their story goes out into the world that they are protected. And that could, there's so many things. It could be looking at it from a legal perspective. It can be changing names. It can be telling their story in a way that can't be identified to their particular hometown or whatever. There's so many facets to it. But it's working with them so that when they do publish that story, they feel fully confident to stand in that space and be able to go, no, this is my story, it's my experience, it's my work. I'm not doing this to harass someone or make them feel bad. I'm telling it because I need to. And as an author, you need to be able to feel strong in that
You have
stance.
to, because just writing it is just the first part, and then when you publish
Yeah.
it, you have to be able to promote it, and we all know, and I think it's just so valuable to understand that these are really common things that
Yeah.
almost everyone, especially when we're just getting started writing, experience this, and even the most experienced writers continue to
Hmm.
experience some of these feelings. And so I just love how you really fold in this emotional support piece throughout your work. And it's really clear in your chapter how much of a consideration that is. And I think so for people who feel like I have a big story, or I
Yeah.
have something that I know I want to share, but I know I'm going to need some support in holding someone to hold some space for me as I work through
Mm.
this. Ruth, you are the perfect person to
Thank
work
you.
for that.
And
Um,
I don't mind if people cry either. The amount of
we
times
are
I've cried with
criers.
my authors.
We are criers here. So, um, okay, so okay, so then you also talk about how to align your inner magic, connect with yourself and your reader, and
Mm.
really walk people through the process of really considering the reader's perspective. So what does that mean for, can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. I the aligning with your inner magic, I guess, isn't always clear, but for me, that is that real getting to the heart of why the person is writing that story, what they want to achieve with it, and really connecting with themselves. And often people start to write one story and then it becomes something completely different. Um, so and it's getting rid of all that background noise about the shoulds, what you should say, what you should think, what you should put out into the world, and really connecting with what it is that they want to say and what they feel is important. Because then, as you said throughout this conversation, that then will resonate with the person who needs to hear those words.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so working with someone, there's so many different ways again that actually that we do that. Sometimes it's through meditation, it might be through oracle card readings, it can be through sitting and co-writing together. But it is also allowing the author to tap into their creativity without that noise. And for me, that is creating a safe space where there's no judgment. It doesn't matter if they spell things badly or do bullet points or any of those things. Like, it's getting the words out of their head and out of their heart. And
Absolutely.
then we do the editing part of it. Then we polish it and sprinkle magic on it and turn it into something that they feel confident again to release into the world. But that initial part of it is really that tapping into self.
Yeah, and I think that
Yeah.
just comes back to, circles back around to the intuitive writing
Yeah.
support that you offer, because it really is intuitive, and when we're overthinking or feeling like, how this has to be, we have to write this in a very specific way, then it really gets in the way of that
Yeah.
expression, right? So Tracy said, yes, Ruth is definitely the perfect person to hold compassionate space while helping walk people through the process of shaping their stories. Absolutely. Thank you,
Thanks.
Tracy. You have some fans in the audience today.
Thank you.
So, and so this weaves perfectly into editing and storytelling and how they're intertwined and how really, yes, there's the intuitive coaching piece where you're
Mm,
really helping people. And then you're going to come in as the editor perspective and really help
yeah.
people shape that story. So, what does that look like with your clients?
So for me, I love editing. It's one of my favorite things to do in the whole world because it is that sprinkling magic and helping people to share their story in a way that they can be proud of and feel safe in as well. So working with someone, if we're going through a coaching process, is a matter of, like I said, getting the words out during the sessions. And then in between the sessions is when I will work on their piece and um, use the things I've learned in my studies and working as a copywriter and as a writer myself to help their story flow and tie in and make sure that the paragraphs are what they need to say, and obviously there's the grammar, spelling, all that kind of stuff too, but it is more about creating or helping their story to become something that a reader can really engage with and making sure that their message is carried through that story. So
Yeah.
for me, again, that's an intuitive part of it as well, because I'm a big believer that rules are made to be broken, particularly when it comes to the English language. And while there are some things that we need to abide by, obviously, when someone is telling a story in their voice, that voice is what's important. And that voice comes through the flow of the story and the way the words are put together. And I'm working with an author at the moment who lives on the other side of the world. And it's hilarious because I use words that she has not heard of, and she uses words and phrases that I've never heard of. And we're always giggling in our Google Doc because I'm like, what does this mean? Um, so it's taking that
Yes.
into account as well, and making sure that that their voice is true to not only themselves but also their readership and their background and their history and where they live, and but still needs to be understood by someone on the other side of the world. So it can be quite complex, but it's a beautiful process of flow, I feel. And
Yeah.
when they get that copy back after a week or 2 weeks between sessions, they then see how their story is becoming real and that they can write.
That's
So yeah, it's pretty
yeah.
special.
And I just love, I mean, even during the editing process, how you're really a stand for the voice of the author, which I think
Yeah.
is such a like special, like place and like role to hold because there's so many people that are going to be like, I think that is the difference in how you work with your clients because that matters so much to you. That
Does.
yes, you want absolutely this to be presented in the best way, but you at no expense of the voice of the author. So
Yeah.
that is beautiful. So if there's one thing that people walk away from after reading your chapter, if there's one thing, what do you hope that they walk away with?
Oh, I hate these questions. Um, it one thing, there's always so many things.
Right?
I
Well, maybe a couple. It
No,
doesn't
no, that's okay. I could
rules
talk
are
for
meant to
days.
be broken, like you said.
That's fine. I think it is that they walk away knowing that if they have that story or message, however they want to look at it, but that need to speak bubbling within them, then
Mhm.
there is always a way to do it. And it may not be working with me. I might not be the right person for them, but there will be someone. And this is the beautiful thing about Get Published, because there are other editors, there are other book coaches, and I can't wait to read their chapters because I know that they're going to come at this differently. And I'm not only going to learn from that, but also go, oh, that's so cool. I
Yeah.
didn't think of that. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I think it's that if you have a story and you have that desire to speak, there will be someone who can help you do that. It's just a
Yes.
matter of finding them.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and so Get Published industry experts share their secrets is debuting May 8th, so mark your calendars. In this book is 17 incredible experts who are sharing their experience, their expertise, their story, their wisdom across, about their specific niche. And really, wherever you're at in the process, we want aspiring authors or even authors who've already been published or people somewhere along the writing journey to know that there are so many tools and resources and support for you. And absolutely, your dream of being published or of whatever it is absolutely possible. So make sure to get your hands on this book, read Ruth's chapter. It's incredible. Read the other chapters, and I promise you, you're going to walk away with so many nuggets of great wisdom. And if you're interested in connecting with Ruth, if you don't want to wait for the book to be released before connecting with her, reach out. I've included her website and her contact information, and I know she would love to consult with you and give you insights and feedback and advice on your writing journey. And we can't wait for this book to come out. Thank you for being here, Ruth. It was so
Oh, thank
wonderful
you for having me.
to you. Thanks, everyone, and have a wonderful day.